Welcome, everyone, Untap Podcast, Episode 6. I'm Jonny Esports. I'm joined, as always, by JT. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing great, Johnny. It's a wonderful day down here at the Jankyard, and I'm looking forward to chatting about some Magic.
Yeah, we got tons of stuff to talk about. Namely, we have a new game for us to play. If you're new to the show, we like to start off the show with a game, something you can play from home. JT's going to challenge me, and we'll go from there. And then topic number 2, as always, we're going to talk about what decks we're playing. And then topic number 3, we're going to talk about the crazy Euro ban. And more interestingly, how it was announced, because it's weird if you don't know already. But we'll talk about that on today's episode. Well, JT, what do you got for me?
Okay, so I'm calling this game What's Greater. And the way I'm doing it, I've got 5 pairings of Magic things.
Okay.
And so I'll try to explain it as clean as I can here. And these things, there is a numerical representation to the thing I'm giving you, but I'm not telling you the number, and you have to guess which of those two things the number is greater. So for example, what's greater, the number of colors in Magic or the number of cards in the history of Magic? Well, I mean, the answer is the number of cards in the history of Magic.
Yeah.
There's 20,000 and there's 5 colors. So, but I'm not going to give you the numbers. So that's how we're going to do it.
All right. So I basically got a bunch of 50-50s. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's best three out of 5.
Okay.
All right. Okay, first one. So what is greater? The total number of cards that are currently banned in Standard,
Oh my gosh.
or the total number of Butts enablers. So these are all cards in the history of Magic that say that a creature can do combat damage with its toughness.
Okay. So
Or a or multiple creatures can do damage with their toughness.
all right, so this is kind of funny because I was half expecting you to ask if this was this or if Tom Brady has more Super Bowl rings. Because
I was thinking about mixing some pop culture. Next time we'll do that.
yeah, only because it came up on the MTG Goldfish podcast, and I was like, we're stealing content. But anyway, that's funny. I'm gonna go with there's more cards banned is it only in Standard? Sorry, hold on.
Yeah, just Standard.
Okay, I'm still gonna go with that. There's more cards banned in Standard than Butts enablers.
Currently, there are 8 cards banned in Standard.
So many.
Yeah. There are 10 Butts enablers in the history of Magic. 10? And now this includes stuff that only lets one creature, like Gauntlets of Light,
That's fair.
do combat damage, but still, yeah, there's 10.
Oh, I was thinking of I off the top of my head, I thought of 4, and I was like, there can't be that much more than that.
Yeah, I sat down and did it because there's that 7-mana dinosaur from Ixalan that I've never used.
Oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next one. This is more up your alley.
All right.
What is greater? The total number of instants and sorceries. So these are instants and sorceries that have both red and blue in their casting cost and only red and blue.
Okay.
Or the total number of different cards that have the word lightning in their name.
Oh. There's a lot of cards with lightning in their name.
Yes, there is.
Bolt, strike, more than that. Obviously, that's just the first two I can think of. I'm gonna go with but only those two. So no generic either.
No, sorry. Generic is allowed, but I don't mean
okay,
no
right.
no Grixis, no Teamer, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna assume there's more. Is it
Instants and sorceries?
Yeah.
So apparently, you as it mages, you rely on either blue spells or red spells because there's only 45 instants and sorceries that have both red and mana, and blue mana. There are 55 cards with the word lightning in the name.
That's wild. That's
and that's not counting blightning because to me that's one word and it's not actually lightning.
It's not actually
So just for quick context, for a lot of these things I use Scryfall to do my adding and to search them all out, and I was shocked to find out there was 55 with lightning.
That's wild. Okay, all right. I'm 0 for 2.
0 for 2, but we're gonna plow through all 5 one way or the other.
Yeah.
It'll go from seeing if you could win to Well, let's hope you see if you can win.
Yeah,
We'll
for
stick
sure.
with that.
Again, everyone listening, play along and let me know if you beat me at the end of this. All right, in the comments. All right.
Okay, third one.
Okay.
What's greater, the total number of Pro Tour top 8s by LSV, Luis Scott Vargas,
Right.
or the total number of different Gideon Planeswalker cards?
Oh my gosh. I feel like it would be. I know LSV's made it a ton. I don't know the exact number, and I don't know. I could think of like 8 Gideons. I think, and I feel like LSV has made more top 8s than that. I'm gonna go with LSV on this one.
Okay, the reason, part of the reason I brought this up, this is just my humble brags here, is that when we did the early access streamer event a couple weeks ago, I ended up getting paired up and playing against LSV in that
nice.
on that day, and I won. So that's my humble brags, and that's partly why I brought this in. Also, I love LSV. I think he's great.
Oh yeah.
And he's been in 10 top 8s.
All right.
And I'm amazed. You nailed it. There have been exactly 8 Gideon Planeswalker cards.
Yes. All right. Cool.
You got that one right.
To be fair, sort of a guess, but I was in the ballpark.
I thought there was a lot more than that. When I looked up, I'm like, really? It's only 8? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. What is greater, the total number of cards in the original Alpha set,
Okay.
or the total number of cards, including tokens, that have John Avon art on them?
Oh. Okay.
He's been prolific.
He's been prolific, and he's been around, and they still put art. I would go with John Avon because Alpha stopped making things. John Avon is still making things, and I would assume he's caught up by now. I'm gonna go with John Avon art.
John Avon has had 224 different cards, including tokens. There were 295 in the Alpha set. And
all right.
So we'll do the last one.
I'm losing anyway. I'm 1 for 4.
And the last one is,
one more.
so what is highest? The highest toughness on any single black bordered creature in the history of Magic, or the highest power on any single black bordered creature ever in the history of Magic? And I say black bordered because there is an unset creature that is a 99/99. I'm not counting him.
Yeah,
He's by the way, if you're wondering who he is, he's BFM. I think the B stands for big and the M stands for monster. We all know what the F stands
It's
for.
in my trade binder.
Nice.
Okay. All right. Let me think. Okay. I'm going to assume. I'm going to go with its toughness.
So the largest single power is Impervious Great Worm, which has 16 power. Mm-hmm. And Cherix, the Raging Isle, has 17 toughness. You're correct, sir.
All right, 2 for 5. Once again, let me know in the comments below if you did better than me. Or if you did worse than me and I could laugh at you for being worse than me.
Yeah, I thought we had fun with that. So, and that also gave
fun.
me a chance to go looking on Scryfall and looking up some
Yeah,
stuff.
honestly, one of the funnest parts of this game is just kind of like trying to find something that's fun, right? For the other person, and of course for everyone playing at home too as well. So it is fun looking this stuff up, and we get to look at cards we've never heard of or whatever. We get to discover some new things. So it's all a learning opportunity. It's great. All right. So let's get into the brewer talk for the day and talk about what we're playing, because I finally did it, JT. I've been talking for a long time since this card was spoiled. I was like, this is a deck I'm going to make, but I have ADD and I kept making other decks. And then I finally scrounged up some wild cards, and to be fair, I only needed a few to finally make the Bergie deck of my dreams.
Ooh, of your dreams.
My dreams. This deck is so fun to play, and it surpassed my expectations, because guaranteed, I was assuming I'm going to play Bergie here, and just in case you don't know what Bergie does, Bergie, God of Storytelling, is 2 colorless, 1 red for 2 generic, 1 red for a 3/3 legendary creature god. Whenever you cast a spell, add red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. You can see it on the screen. It does other stuff. It flips to the other side. I don't care about the rest of it. I kept saying how this is the only part of the card that matters to me, and honestly, it's the only part I think about. I've never casted to the other side so far,
Same.
playing a bunch of games. It's just this. So what I assumed was going to happen with this deck was like, I'm probably just going to draw a bunch of cards and never do anything and never win a game. But it'd be like, yeah, I did it. But I don't track my win losses like you should. Maybe I should actually do that, but I feel like that would just tilt me, to be honest. But
That's possible.
I've just had tons of fun and won a bunch of games playing this version of the deck because, of course, we'll talk about how this deck ticks. So I've put this into a mono red Arclight Phoenix shell. Which,
of course you have.
If you're new to the show, you don't know how much I love this card. If you know me, you know how much I love this card already. Arclight Phoenix, of course, is the 3 generic 1 red for 3/2 flying haste at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you cast 3 or more instant and sorcery spells this turn, return Arclight Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield, which of course is very easy with Bergie because you have a bunch of free spells. So the spells that are in here, I won't describe them all, just show them on the screen. You have Crash Through for card draw, Warlord's Fury for card draw, Frostbite, because of course I put Snowlands in here, for some removal, Lightning Axe for both removal and put Arclight Phoenix in your graveyard shenanigans, Shock for damage to face, Spikefield Hazards in here for extra land / another spell you can cast. So those are your like free cards that you can put out there. What also helps this tick, of course, is I've got Thrill of Possibility and Tormenting Voice, with both essentially discard a card, hopefully Arclight Phoenix, then draw 2 cards. And the other gem in this whole thing is Runaway Steamkin, which is a 1 generic 1 red for a 1/1 creature elemental. Whenever you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3+1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on Runaway Steamkin. You can remove 3+1/+1 counters from Runaway Steamkin to add 3 mana and keep going with your storm-ish shenanigans and keep kind of going on there. And to top it all off, the cherry on the cake, I got a 1 of, it was a 2, but I've just decided to cut it down to a 1 of, Experimental Frenzy. 3 colorless, 1 red for an enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. You can't play lands or cast spells from your hand. You can pay for, that's 3 generic 1 red to destroy Experimental Frenzy. And that's the deck. It just goes off. Phoenix is so easy to replay in this deck. Normally you needed the Izzet kind of for more blue draw to kind of like have more 1 mana cantrips or whatever. But with this mono red version, you're able to kind of like just drop a Steamkin. Also, you don't have to mulligan as heavy, I found, because normally like you just kind of have to mulligan before with Izzet Phoenix till you for sure have a discard spell and a Phoenix, or else you're kind of just doing nothing. This deck is pretty easy to be like, oh, I got Runaway Steamkin in my hand, I'll just go from there. And very, very easy to make that a 4/4 on turn 3.
Oh my goodness.
As well with Bergie, of course, just helping that all along. And notable land in this deck too as well. Faceless Haven has been a deck that's made me win games. So when I said before how I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to spin my wheels and then do nothing, previous versions of me playing Mono Red Phoenix has been that, because I would usually just fizzle out at like, I got to do like 4 or 5 more damage to this guy, and they got rid of my Phoenixes and I can't bring them back or whatever. Faceless Haven helps me get the rest of that damage done. So it's a snow land. It adds 1 colorless mana, but if you pay 3 snow, Faceless Haven becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types till end of turn. It's still a land. So even if they get rid of the Phoenixes, baby, even if they play the board wipes, even if they play the board wipes that exile the Phoenixes, sometimes Faceless Haven is just there to come across to help me get through the finish line. And man, it's been really fun. I'm really enjoying this deck. I don't have a sideboard. I've just been playing it best of 1 so far. I will probably create a sideboard for this deck. Probably a transformative sideboard. Just make it like basically turn it into a mono red aggro if some people start bringing in Graveyard Hate, or that, or turn it into like mono red control if it needs to be more controlling in the sideboard if I want to play this best of 3. But for now, I'm playing this in best of 1, and honestly, most of my decks so far have come in here and said, I don't actually recommend playing this because it's not actually like, it's kind of fun, but like the win rate's not there. This deck actually slaps, and I enjoy it.
Well, okay, so I have not played Bergie yet in Historic, like you are. I've only played it in Standard, and in Standard, it's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
But in Historic, yeah, you've got a lot more toys to tinker with.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, I played with throwing in Chandras in here, Force
Oh,
of
jeez.
Defiance, and stuff. But focusing on the game plan of just like Runaway Steamkin and Bergie and Arclight Phoenix as being your creatures getting in there, it does the job pretty
And a
darn
whole
good.
bunch of one manas and
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Just
away
one
you
mana,
go.
just keep churning through.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun too.
The only games I've lost is when would randomly flood, which is very frustrating in an 18 land. Technically,
Oh my goodness.
technically 21 land deck because of Spikefield Hazard, but a lot of the time you actually want to use Spikefield Hazard as the instant side. So I've legit been like, if I flood, I'll lose, but if I don't, this deck just wins. It's just winning most matchups. Uro, of course, is tough, but we'll touch on Uro a little bit later. But
Oh, we
most
will.
matchups, it's pretty darn good.
Nice. No, I'll have to check it out in Historic. So for myself, I've been building for Standard because this coming weekend is it'll be past by the time this airs, but we're coming up upon the CFB Pro event, and it's a Standard event. And I was trying to figure out what to build for it, and I got looking at one of these CFB Pro suggestions from Andrea Mangucci actually. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the plunge and wander over to the dark side and try a Tybalt's Trickery deck. And it's interesting. Now, I didn't go fully Mangucci's build. Mangucci's build was very finely tuned, and I decided to jank it up a little bit. But it's got, I mean, a lot of for the good stuff, a lot of the good stuff that most of the good decks have. Isika, God of the Tree, which you mainly want to cast as the Prismatic Bridge. Dream Trawler, Kiora Best of Sea God, Genesis Ultimatum, Ugin. But I'm also putting in some Emergent Ultimatums.
All right.
Terror of the Peaks, because that's just really good.
It's just really good.
And Valky, God of Lies, because if you find it, you can cast it as Valky instead of... or you can cast it as Tybalt instead of Valky. And, the key package for this, of course, is the 4 Tormod's Crypts, the 4 Stonecoil Serpents, and the 4 Tybalt's Trickery. You have to have those.
Yeah, you heavy
I
mulligan.
Exactly. I got into a match the other night, and I mulliganed down to 3, and my opponent went down to 4. And I did not find the second land. I had 1 land, a Trickery, and a Crypt, and they found their second land first, and they beat me too. We were in the race, like who gets to go off first. But this deck is a glass cannon.
Oh yeah, it's not
like
actually
a number of times I've done it. You do the Tybalt's Trickery, and you find a Tybalt's Trickery. Well, that's game.
Yeah, yeah. Or even the worst feel bad is that you like say you got it, you get the combo out, you throw down Ugin or whatever, and then they just bounce it. And oh, it's back of my hand, there's no way I can cast this.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Or even I've gotten down to Kiora Best of Sea God, and they've been able to hold me off.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, but I'm not getting. I can't play anything else because you need to try to hard cast stuff.
Yeah.
And so that takes time. Sure you can try to get down to Valky, but I haven't put a lot of black mana in this, so it needs fine tuning for sure.
Yeah, I hear the ultimatums are the hit. Like if you hit the ultimatums, then you're good to go from the game there. But everything else is actually yeah, sure, it's problematic that you have a turn 2 Ugin or whatever. But if they have an answer on the spot there, it's just oh, you have no way to continue playing the game. So
yeah, and if you're not beating them, okay, now I'm trying to draw as much land as possible so I can cast this 7 mana card that's sitting in my hand, or this 8 mana card. It is definitely, and yet you're absolutely right. Getting the one thing you get down bounced, that is the ultimate feel bads.
Yeah.
So
Brazen Borrower still a good guard.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to play it. Truthfully, I've been toying with an idea of taking the card I took to the last CFB, or the deck I took to the last CFB Pro event, which was the mono red control with Fiery Emancipation and Sundering Stroke, and tweaking that to make it, you'll love this, is it,
Ooh.
and getting a null in there and negate so that I can shut down Tybalt's trickery.
Just to shut them down. Yeah, it's not bad. What might be actually interesting, and I haven't seen much of it because honestly, for some reason, I haven't seen much of goblins in historic lately. But I just kind of thought people would throw Tybalt's trickery into the goblins deck as the just in case you have an answer counter, like actually use it fairly, or the Hail Mary, I'll just counter my own thing and hope I find Muxus. Right? Like I kind of I kind of figured I would see that more often in Red Lit, which I think is how Wizards envision the card actually being played. But instead of obviously just like zero.
They had to have seen that coming.
They had to have, right? There's so little reason to not put counter opponent spell, right? Target opponent spell. So they had to have known this kind of thing was gonna happen. And again, we're both on the side of like, yeah, especially in standard, in historic, it's slightly crazier, but it's still like not completely insane. It's
wildly inconsistent.
It is definitely completely wild in modern. For like, I haven't been playing modern actually. But I've been watching videos, and it, like whenever it just comes up it's just coming up too often, and it's very problematic in modern. But I don't know. It's even though it's not even like a good deck, I just don't think it should, like, that just gameplay style should stop existing.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I think, to me, at least in standard, it's fun to try to see how often you can make it work. Because it's a jank deck, let's face it. But it's a jank deck that has a lot of feel bads, which is I think why it's definitely garnering a lot of ire of some players.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. They also printed the card a null, and it's definitely there to deal with this because it's 1 blue mana, counter target artifact or enchantment spell.
Yeah.
Well, you let them drop, play their Tormod's Crypt, then you let them counter it, then you drop this and counter the Tormod's Crypt.
Yeah. So that that fizzles before
Tybalt's trick, and it fizzles.
Yeah. That's it's there. There's certainly lots of answers to it, so it's not completely insane. But
it's been interesting to play, and I've been trying to see how often I can make it work. But a lot of times you wind up in slugfests.
Yeah.
It's not always an instant ender. Now, a couple times I've dropped Tybalt's Trickery, and my opponent's head has exploded. There's like, no, I don't even want to know what you're going to hit. I'm out.
Yeah. Oh, folks, always wait to see. It's worth waiting the 3 seconds just to see, because they might just do nothing. And then you can emote at the person over and over again and laugh at them for failing.
Oh, look, you found a Tormod's Crypt. Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right, now I'm just going to drop... I can do anything now. It's...
And I've used Tormod's Crypt a couple times when I'm up against sack decks.
Oh, yeah.
Up against a Croxa deck. Bye.
Yeah, it's like, all right, cool. Glad I have this. Incidental hate. That's the one thing that every once in a while in historic, just going back to my Burgundy deck, or anytime I play Arclight Phoenix, and I'm playing in a best of one, and someone plays like their main deck Graveyard Hate, and I was like, good on you, but I'm just hoping you just didn't.
Why are you main decking Digger's Cage?
Yeah, it's smart. It's actually smart to keep people like me honest, but damn you. All right, so that's the decks we're playing this week. Of course, folks, if you're playing anything spicy, let us know in the comments, and we'll put deck lists in the show notes, of course, of the decks we talked about today, and you can check those out if you are interested. Okay, so last topic of the day to round off our little evening here is Uro. So not just that it's getting getting banned in historic, in modern, and they're talking about legacy as well. Also, it's being banned in Pioneer.
And Pioneer, yep.
Yeah. So, but the way they decided to introduce this ban is interesting for Wizards specifically, because they have a product coming out that's going to feature a showcase art case. That's not what I was going. Showcase art of Uro, and they're like, just in case y'all were like, oh, I need to get all these Uros, we're gonna be banning the Uro, by the way. So just in case.
Yeah, so I've got a few thoughts about this.
Yeah, what are you thinking about it?
Well, I mean, firstly, it was interesting how like I'm on a few different MTG Facebook groups, and I was on Facebook the other morning, and I see somebody has posted like 2 minutes ago, "Hey, this was just announced in the secret layers," and immediately the two responses like, "Ah, that's funny. Oh, wow, that almost looks real." And it's like, no, guys, it's real.
It's real.
It's real. But I understand why they did it. They would be very disingenuous of them, and they would catch a lot of heck.
Oh yeah.
If they were to advertise this secret lair and start selling it, and then go, "Oh, hey, we're banning Uro from everything except possibly Legacy."
Yeah. It'll still
so,
be a Commander card.
And Commander and Vintage. Fair enough. So they had to be upfront about that. But my thought is, if they're confident enough to say that now, there is no set schedule for BNR announcements. Why didn't they do a BNR announcement on Monday? And go, yeah, we're banning Uro in Modern, Historic, Pioneer, and we've got it on watch for Legacy.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there was no big tournament, I don't think, like between like last Monday and when this was announced. And so it's not like they were like, okay, maybe we'll want to see how Uro does in this tournament or whatever. Like I can't think of that happening.
It's been on the radar, obviously, to make that announcement. So very strange to do it that way. I'm surprised they just didn't take advantage of the mechanisms they've put in place for themselves to do impromptu BNR bannings.
Yeah.
Or announcements. So, yeah.
And to like give Wizards some slack, I guess, is that of course like these decisions are like, hey, we're gonna make a showcase Uro thing and a showcase Croxa thing or whatever they're doing, and obviously is like that's talked about 6 months ago or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know their exact like timing for when, but like probably 6 months ago they make the decision to make the card, and at that time, yeah, some people were screaming 6 months ago for a ban, but like honestly, people are screaming for bans at all times.
Yeah.
So they're at that time going, yeah, this is probably gonna be fine. This will be fine. We'll ban it from standard, and then it's fine in other formats or whatever. But since then, since the decision to make this card to get it printed, and they obviously are like printed it 6 months ago already, so that it's ready to ship now, they go, yeah, we gotta ban this card, and but at the same time, we have this thing coming out, so we got to make sure that we're shipping it. And the other interesting part is the pack, the secret lair with Uro is cheaper than the other ones. It's like $5 cheaper, so it's like, the $5 is to pay for the free Uro card you get that can't be played in anything.
Yeah, the cute Uro card you can put in your commander deck.
Yeah, so give them some credit on that, I guess.
Yeah, they definitely were upfront about it, and I think that's appreciative. I just am surprised they didn't take advantage of the mechanisms they have.
Yeah, just do a regular one. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like they wanted to sneak it in, but like, because if there was just a normal ban announcement, maybe we're not even talking about it this way. We're just like, oh yeah, Uro's banned. Okay, that was expected or whatever. And or it would almost been weird if like, hey, if they announced it separately because they're like Uro ban. Or we'd be like, okay, that happened. 3 days later, here's an Uro product. We'd all be like, what? So I don't know. Maybe
it'd be like, oh, that's why they banned it now. Yeah, okay.
So it just, it's just interesting.
Ultimately, it is what it is. But if I can jump on my soapbox for a quick second, though.
Sure.
Playing in Historic, especially when I'm playing Butts, which is a fast deck.
Mm-hmm.
If I see somebody drop an Uro, I'm always like, yeah, okay. You're gaining 3 life. Yeah, you're gaining card advantage. You're getting to drop an extra land. Those are all phenomenal things. Don't get me wrong. Uro is an extremely powerful card. But I'm still like, yeah, it's okay. You drop a Croxa, and I'm yelling 6 different words, and none of them are good. So, like, maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think Croxa is a bigger problem than Uro is. Croxa, to me, is more feel-bads than Uro is. It rips your hand apart, especially if they put it with Aluris. It is just repeatedly ripping your hand apart. Mm-hmm. It costs 1 mana less than Uro. So,
how's that 2 mana? But still.
I mean, I think I'm in the minority on this, but definitely, to me, Croaks is much more of a feel bad card than Uro is.
Yeah, the only thing about Croxa is that I feel like when you play Uro, that card you draw is for sure a good thing for that deck. Yeah, and the healing. Whereas the Croxa, sometimes discarding a card like just doesn't matter.
That's a fair point.
It has more whiffs on that. Whereas like drawing a card that like and getting the 3 like you replace it automatically, so it's just a free card in your deck. It's not like you did anything. And if you're up against most aggro decks, that 3 HP is extremely relevant. And then when you get to play Uro and attack over and over again, you can't race it. So.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, just with Croaks, if you can keep bringing it out, and especially I've seen it in that Lura shell where they can just play it every turn, pretty quickly, yeah, you have no cards left in your hand, and now you're just taking 3 damage just because it hit the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so...
It's certainly powerful. And
yeah, it definitely is.
And I certainly wish it wasn't 2 mana.
Yeah, I think that's maybe part... Like, I think Uro should be 4 and Croxa should be 4.
Yeah, they probably both should be 4. I think I agree. I can agree with that. But yeah, but like we said last time, as we ending off the show today, last time I was happy about Call Time because all the with the exception of like what's happening in Modern, that so many of the cards are, I think they did a better job of considering their mana costs, including stuff like Goldspan Dragon at 5 instead of 4 or less than that. Whereas they were really pushing cards before at really absurd mana costs. Because, again, your things can do absurd things at like 5 or 6. That's allowed. That's totally fine. Even if you're ramping into stuff, like whatever, you play turn 3, like that's your reward for playing ramp, because normally ramp just kind of ramps to something, and then if you don't have the card, like you ramp into nothing or whatever. That's the play style of the deck, and that's fine. If you drop a turn 3 Goldspan Dragon with your ramp deck, that's just like your reward for how you built your deck. But if that was 4-3, it would have been very, very frustrating. And they decided not to push it that hard, and it's still powerful enough to be kind of the standout card in the set. So, again, while that is already a point we made last week, I'm happy, and I'm hoping as we continue to go forward through Strixhaven, through the D&D set, that it's more of that like power level in terms of mana costs for cards.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly fair. And maybe Uro and Croxa, they are the poster children for what happens when you make things too cheap.
Or Oko, or basically most things in Throne of Eldraine. Again,
Throne of Eldraine gets crapped on a lot, but I love that set. And
yeah, man, the adventure mechanic is good. Yeah, especially the adventure mechanic's good. You could argue that potentially Bone Crusher Giant is just like too much value to like have that free.
This is true.
It's a free 2 for 1 or 2 for 0, like kind of.
Brazen
like,
Borrower is great
Brazen
value.
Borrower, yeah, it's just it's huge value. So you can almost argue that it's slightly too much value, but man, like you can't get mad at literally everything. It'd be hard to do that. I'm still more mad about 3 Fairy than most things that actually came out in Throne of Eldraine, to be completely honest, but that's long gone.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody would blame you for that. Poor Teferi is like now the ultimate heel. If this was wrestling, he would be the ultimate heel, and it's just because they made 2 Teferis back-to-back that were oppressive.
Yeah, and to be fair, the 5 mana Teferi, I never really had that much of a problem with.
Oh, I did.
Well, I mean, yeah, because it just won the game. But honestly, in my head, I'm just like, Control. I don't play. I sometimes play Control. Like, is it Control every once in a while? But like, I'm like, Control just needs a finisher every once in a while, and that's fine if it ends the game. The problem with Teferi was that it ended the game like 7 to 10 turns later, but you already knew it won the game when it was played. Yeah. So that is just like, oh my gosh. But I almost preferred the cat combo, Saheeli cat combo, because at least like when that was done, it just ended the game. You're like, okay, fine, the game's over. I don't have to play 10 more turns.
We
But,
we will not get into my feelings about infinite combos today.
yeah, we could get to another time. All right, folks, that will end our podcast for the evening. What would you like to plug today, JT?
Just a reminder to check out our tournaments at twitch.tv/jankyardmtg and check us on mtgmelee.com for our different tournaments. And if you want to support us, check us out at patreon.com/jankyardmtg.
Awesome. And for myself, I will say check out retouchmedia.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, I edited this stuff, and I think it looks cool. And if you like a video editor to do either podcasts or anything you need a video editor for, I can help you out there. Once again, that's retouchmedia.com for your podcasts, for your videos, for your YouTubes, for your graphic design needs, for your Twitch stream, whatever it is, I can help you out there. And yeah, that will be it for the day. Thank you, JT, for joining me. As always, we'll be back next week to talk more Magic and more shenanigans that we're up to and play another game and have some good times. All right, thanks, everybody.
We'll see you all next week.
Cheers.